Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for coming today. Welcome to the August 8th, 2023 regular meeting of the Community Development Commission of Chicago. I am Gwendolyn Hatton Butler, Chairwoman of the CDC. Today's meeting is being held at City Hall and Council Chambers and is also being streamed by the Department of Planning and Development. The agenda for today's meeting was posted on August 2nd, 2023 on the CDC's website and physically at City Hall. I will now call to order the August 8th, 2023 meeting of the Community Development Commission with a call of the roll. Commissioners, when your name is called, please respond by saying present. Please note this vote will be used to establish the roll call vote for subsequent items. Vice Chair Wheat. Secretary Chan McKibben. Commissioner Buford. Commissioner Cox. Here. Commissioner Curtis. Commissioner Davis. Commissioner Gomez. Commissioner Griggs. Commissioner Thomas. And Chair Hatton Butler is present. Thank you, commissioners. We have a quorum. And let the record reflect that Secretary Chan McKibben has joined us. And Secretary Chan McKibben, I have a seat for you right here. No apologies needed. We'll let Commissioner Chan McKibben get settled. We have plenty of time. And I guess the record should reflect this is the first time we've been in City Council chambers since early 2020 for the CDC. It's nice to be back in this room. The first item on our agenda requests approval of the minutes from our previous meeting held on June 13th, 2023. The commissioners have had an opportunity to review the minutes, and if there are no corrections or abstentions, I move due passage of this item by the same roll call vote previously used to establish quorum. Are there anyone that would like to abstain from the approval of the minutes? Any commissioners? Any commissioners have any objections to the approval of the minutes? Hearing no objections, the motion is approved. Commissioners, for the first item of new business, the Department of Planning and Development is seeking authority to advertise its intention to enter into a negotiated sale with the Chicago Transit Authority for the disposition of 36 parcels in the 105th Vincennes, 107th Halsted, 119th Halsted, Lake Calumet, and Roseland, Michigan tax increment financing redevelopment project areas, to request alternative proposals, and to approve the sale of these properties to the Chicago Transit Authority if no responsive alternative proposals are received. Commissioners, I'll note that the specific addresses of these properties have been provided to all of you as well as the public in both the agenda and the staff reports. Jasmine Gunn from the city's Department of Planning and Development and Sonali Tandon from the Chicago Transit Authority will provide a presentation on this request.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chairwoman Butler and members of the commission. For the record, my name is Jasmine Gunn with the Department of Planning and Development. And as mentioned today, I bring forward a proposal for the land disposition of city-owned land of 36 pins to the Chicago Transit Authority for the Red Line Extension Project. With me today is Sonali Tandon representing CTA. Give me one moment.
No. it's not touched.
Okay, I apologize. So the 36 pens that we are here today requesting authority to sell are located in 105th and Vincennes, 107th in Halsted, 119th in Halsted, Lake Calumet Industrial, and Roseland, Michigan Avenue TIF districts. The total land size is 17.7 acres, and it's located in the 21st, 9th, and 10th wards, and is located in the Roseland, West Pullman, Riverdale, and Morgan Park neighborhoods. And for this negotiated sale, DPD and CTA will enter into an intergovernmental agreement, and that incorporates a land write-down of $1. I will now pass it off to Sonali Tandon of CTA to give some background and context of the project.
Thanks, Jasmine. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Sonali Tandon, Senior Manager for Strategic Planning Rail at CTA. I'll begin by giving an overview of the project, though you all may recall some of the information when CTA. Could you speak? I'll begin by giving an overview of the project, though you all may recall some of the information when CTA presented it last year for the transit TIF approval. The Red Line extension would begin at the existing terminal at 95th and Ryan and continue to 130th Street. The structure will be elevated from 95th Street to 119th Street, and then at grade from 119th Street to 130th Street. The proposed 5.6-mile extension would include 4 new accessible stations at 103rd Street, 111th Street, Michigan Avenue, and 130th Street. There will be bus, bike, pedestrian, and park and ride facilities at each new station. A train storage yard and maintenance facility will be built at 120th Street. The project has an estimated cost of $3.6 billion, which makes it the largest capital project in CTA's history. I would like to take this opportunity to thank the Commission for approving the transit TIF last year, which was also approved by the City Council in December and will provide a portion of the funding needed for the project. The extension of the Red Line will provide transformational benefits to Far South Side communities, the city, and the region, and I'll present some of the key benefits. The Red Line extension is a transportation equity project that will provide affordable rail service to historically underserved and predominantly African-American communities on the Chicago's Far South Side. RLE will improve, or Red Line extension will improve the transit experience by providing a new, more direct connection to the Red Line and CTA network. This means an easier trip and less time commuting. People living in the area have some of the longest commutes in the region. The project will provide up to 30-minute time savings to riders traveling from the future 130th Street station to the Loop and facilitate access to multiple CTA rail lines and bus routes. RLE is an equitable investment that will result in strength and vitality for the communities in the RLE area and benefits that will extend to the entire city. The project will create new opportunities. As a result of the time savings, there will be a 47% increase in jobs available within an hour commute from the project area. The project will pay dividends locally during and after construction. It is estimated to generate more than 25,000 jobs throughout Cook County in the coming years. As with any major CTA capital project, the CTA will require levels of disadvantaged business enterprise participation for construction and professional services. The CTA is also conducting early outreach to identify opportunities for small business enterprise participation and workforce goals targeted to economically disadvantaged zip codes. RLE is expected to drive investment and create new economic opportunities for businesses and residents. Working with members of the community and City of Chicago, CTA has led development of RLE Transit Supportive Development Plan to leverage this infrastructure investment and help spur complementary economic growth near future stations. And Jasmine will be going in more detail on the TST plan later in the presentation. This graphic shows our current project timeline. The RLE project has been talked about for decades, but over the past several years, CTA has accelerated progress and laid the groundwork for significant federal approvals and dollars to come to Chicago to make the project possible. We are pursuing federal funding for a portion of the project cost and are advancing the project through federal review and approval process. The box on the lower left outlines a few of the major milestones that we have accomplished in 2022, which includes completion of the environmental work, 30% design, start of design build procurement, and approval of transit tax increment financing district. Earlier this year, FTA assigned the RLE project an overall project rating of medium high, which is really good, and recommended that Congress appropriate $350 million in 2024 funding for the project. We are soon to enter the engineering phase of the federal process. We have been advancing the procurement process for design builder. In May, CTA announced shortlist of 3 design build teams that have been selected to submit proposals for the project construction. We anticipate a contract award in 2024. We also anticipate receiving full funding grant agreement from Federal Transit Administration next year. Construction is scheduled to start in 2025 with revenue service to begin in 2029. RLE preferred alignment has been selected through extensive analysis and public and agency coordination between 2006 and 2022. CTA did an alternatives analysis from 2006 to 2009 that evaluated a range of alignments and modes. The preferred alignment was further refined through the environmental review process to minimize impacts and maximize benefits. CTA received the record of decision on the final environmental impact statement from Federal Transit Administration in August last year, which allowed us to start the acquisition process for the property needed for the project. CTA has undertaken extensive outreach to inform impacted property owners since 2016, when draft environmental impact statement was released. We have kept impacted property owners informed through a variety of outreach methods, including mailings, door-to-door outreach, focused meetings, one-on-one meetings, and open office hours. We have a dedicated acquisitions and relocation team called ART that is focused on fostering relationships in the community. RLE Field Office is open since January 2023. To make the transition as easy as possible for impacted property owners, the ART team has conducted individualized outreach to ensure that owners understand and can fully utilize the benefits to which they are entitled. The team coordinates closely with owners and tenants throughout the process. Many of the occupied properties are owned by residents that have been willing to relocate. We have already acquired a number of properties and expect to complete the acquisition process by 2024 prior to start of construction in 2025. CTA's goal is negotiated agreement with property owners. With that, I'll transition back to Jasmine.
Thank you, Sonali. So now, again, for the record, my name is Jasmine Gunn with the Department of Planning and Development. I am going to provide a lot of background and context just so you understand the full universe. But just to be clear, today we're talking about 36 pens out of the total land, and they're all vacant, unimproved land, city-owned land that we're disposing to the CTA. So all the land impacted by the rail line extension, there's a total of 199 total parcels between acquisitions and easements needed. 104 are publicly or railroad owned. Of those 104, 21 of those parcels are owned by the city of Chicago. We have 46 pens in total that we plan on disposing to CTA. 36 of those are in the TIF district. There's 51 by the Cook County Land Bank Authority and 95 privately owned between commercial and residential. And then between those, 63 are occupied structures. So for use and purpose, 165 are needed for the project itself, and that's the actual train route, and then the facilities and bus turnaround. And then 34 parcels are needed for park mitigation because this project will displace a portion of Parkway. So this table goes over the total acquisition by land use. So for commercial and industrial, there are 16 full acquisition. For housing, there are 58 in between single family and multifamily. For institution, it's 3. There's 1 park that's mainly impacted. And then public is publicly owned land that has active uses on it. And that's typically either parking or right of way, such as the easements over the highway that are needed. And then railroad and utility are 3. And then vacant land is 45 for full acquisition. So I do want to mention the collaboration with the Cook County Land Bank Authority. They have vacant land inventory that contains parcels that will be required for the red line extension, and there has been ongoing coordination. They have an agreement between Cook County Land Bank Authority and CTA that was approved in September and October respectively. And then there's coordination that would be ongoing for some property via the scavenger sale process. And again, there's 51 parcels needed, and all of these parcels are vacant, unimproved. It is not displacing anyone currently on the properties, and there's no relocations required for these properties. So to give additional background before going into the map exhibits and over the parcels we're talking about today, I do want to mention the Transit Supportive Development Plan. So CTA and the Department of Planning and Development created a plan that gives a proactive effort to establish community-led guide for future development. So we're looking at what future development could look like in the station areas. And we estimated that there's a potential for $1.7 billion of real estate development. So this is an example of a station area. So we did an analysis of all the vacant land and found community desired uses for what's in that land, and then projected what that could look like at a larger level, closer to the station, and then at the ground floor level experience as well. Another thing I want to mention is in terms of background is in August 2022, the CDC did approve the release of the Michigan Avenue RFP. And that was a request for proposals for 3 sites along Michigan Avenue. The third site, as you can see in the diagram, the further south is actually where the Michigan Avenue station will be, because we are trying to promote development before or as the red line extension is going on. We are receiving or reviewing those proposals now to be released for the community evaluation process. So now I will get into the map exhibits. I've just highlighted the city impacted parcels and shown all the land that's impacted. And again, I just want to highlight that it's the 36 vacant city-owned parcels for development of the red line extension project that we're here for today. So the first portion on the left hand, I believe, yes, it's left hand for you as well. On the left hand of the screen, you're looking at the red line extension from the Dan Ryan leaving 95th Street down to 103rd along Eggleston Avenue. If you zoom in along this stretch, it is just a single parcel located near the 103rd station. The next portion of the red line alignment is from 103rd to 109th Place. And again, it's just one parcel located closer to 106th Place along Eggleston Avenue, and it's a vacant portion of land next to the rail line. The next grouping is of 109th Place to 114th Street. This is near the 111th station, and there's a cluster of about 3 parcels that are near the 111th station. The next we have from 114th Street to 116th Street. So it's largely this parcels from a large vacant piece of land at 115th in Michigan. The parcels of land, one thing to note is in our intergovernmental agreement, the parcels of land closest to 115th Street on the northern end are to be determined based on the results of the request for proposal. So that final footprint will be determined it's a negotiation between the developer, CTA, and the city on what the final footprint should be versus what is needed for the station and the other facilities. Next, we have 116th to 119th Place. It's a series of vacant parcels along the stretch, and then the main part that's in the TIF district is highlighted in the green in the aerial above, which is a series of vacant land next to the rail line as well. Then lastly, for the red line extension alignment, we have 130th to 134th Street. The northern piece is in the Lake Calumet industrial TIF in zone and area, and that's needed for the rail yard that will be generated from this project. And then the southern portion is near the 130th station, and that land will be transferred to the forest preserve to provide more pedestrian access to the Beaubien Woods that is like just south of the screen here. Oh, yes. Sorry about that. Yeah, so in these diagrams, the green, I should have mentioned, the green is the city-owned impacted parcels as well. So for the last half of this presentation, we're talking about the replacement park parcels. So as seen on the diagram to the right, the rail structure, the elevated rail structure will impact the Fernwood Parkway between 99th and 103rd Street. And we are required to replace those parks as part of federal mitigation requirements. And evaluations were completed as part of the environmental analysis reviews that were done. So in coordination with the Park District, it was determined to put the replacement parks, one in Washington Heights neighborhood, which is the station area where the park will be displaced, and then also identifying locations along the Major Taylor Trail for pocket parks. And then the other requirement for replacement parks is that they need to be at least 0.25 acres in size. So the potential replacement park locations that have city-owned land are located at 102nd and South Parnell, which is close to the 103rd station area, and then 110th Street to 110th Place along the Major Taylor Trail. And the purple here in these diagrams is actually the Cook County Land Bank Authority owned land, just to give context about the coordination that's happening around this project. And then the last replacement park location with city-owned land is at 121st Street to 122nd Street along the Major Taylor Trail. And then again, the green is city-owned parcels, and the purple is Cook County Land Bank Authority parcels. So with that, the DPD recommendation is that the Department of Planning and Development recommends the CDC approve the request for authority to give notice, and then approve the sale if no other alternative proposals are generated. And this is the 36 pins for the rail line extension project. I also want to note that we do have automatic letters of support from Alderman Mosley of the 21st Ward, Alderman Beal of the 9th Ward, and Alderman Peter Chico of the 10th Ward. And then we also have a comment of support from a community resident as well. And with that, I request favorable voting on this matter, and I open it up to questions.
Thank you, Jasmine and Somali. Nice job. Before we open up to questions from the members of the commission and the public, as Jasmine mentioned, we have received letters of support from Alderman Beal and Alderman Mosley, which were received by the commission at the department yesterday. And I believe the letter of support from Alderman Chico was included in our package. Would any members of the commission, would you like to hear me read the letters of support? If not, I see no shaking of heads affirmatively. So we will move to written comments. As Jasmine mentioned, there was one written comment from the public that was submitted on this matter, which I will read into the record as follows. Dear Community Development Commission, I am Michael Lafargue, a resident of Roseland and a former CTA and RTA employee. I represent the Roseland and Riverdale communities to the Chicago Association of Realtors, quote, the 77, end quote, committee. Community members and leaders support the Red Line Extension Project and in the required redevelopment areas of the Roseland and Riverdale communities. We support item 3A of the August 8th, 2023 CDC agenda as follows. In this letter, just for full disclosure, Mr. Lafarge repeats the entire agenda item. I will not do that for purposes of efficiency. Now I'm going back to the body of his letter. Again, I am the appointed community representative of Roseland and Riverdale for the Chicago Association of Realtors, CAR Diversity Committee, quote, the 77, end quote. The 77 tackles real estate and community issues as fair housing, encouraging economic development, engaging with chambers of commerce boards, and liaising with local public officials. As a designated representative, I filter information into CAR as it relates to fair housing and economic development, as well as engage with local chambers of commerce, community organizations, and quasi-governmental bodies such as TIF boards. Sincerely, Michael E. Lafarge, Managing Broker, RCC, RPA, MBA-MPA, the 77 Diversity Committee member, Commercial and Residential Luxury Institute, Real Estate and Consulting. Commissioners, both Jasmine Gunn from the Department of Planning and Development and Sonali Tandon from the Chicago Transit Authority are available to answer your questions on this project. Are there questions from members of the commission? Commissioner Gomez.
Thank you for the presentation, Jasmine, actually very thorough and very helpful. So I did take a couple of notes and I noted, so of the 199 parcels, 95 privately owned, 63 occupied, 58 were for housing. However, for this agenda item, it's specifically for 39 of the 190, oh, I'm sorry, 36 of the 199. Of the 36, which one, how many are occupied, like housing occupied?
Yeah. So this is city-owned land.
Only,
Could you
Oh, I'm sorry.
repeat your name?
Yes. For the record, my name is Jasmine Gunn with the Department of Planning and Development. So none of the properties are occupied. They're all vacant, unimproved, city-owned land. So it's in our database already.
Okay, yeah, perfect. That was it.
And we're just disposing of the land. So we're not acquiring anyone's land in this.
Thank you. That was my question.
Any further questions? Commissioner Davis.
This is just, sorry. This is just a point of clarity for myself, since I am so familiar with that area. When you say that it's leaving from 95th, literally I'm on 95th right now. Is it elevated from there?
Yes.
Going which direction? I was trying to figure this out without having to ask the whole group.
For record, I'm Sonali Tandon, Senior Manager for Strategic Planning Rail CTA. So it will start gaining elevation from 95th in the median of the expressway, and it will continue in the median of the expressway towards I-57 and turn south near at 99th Street next
Okay.
to Eggleston.
Understood. That's what I couldn't figure out, where that moment in
Yeah.
time was. Second question. I saw the report and I understand all the qualifications that have been met for all the different groups that will be involved in the construction of this. What do you see as the other pieces that will come alive as a result of this? So I understand the construction, I understand some of the development and the like, but what is your plan for the development in the area surrounding, or do you have a plan for how that's going to happen?
Yes, for the record, my name is Jasmine Gunn with the Department of Planning and Development. So actually in May, we passed in the Plan Commission a plan for development around the stations and what that would look like. And it was actually a 2.5 year lengthy process of different community meetings and engagement around what the community wanted to see. And we visualized that and mapped out what the zoning and the land use would take to get to that vision.
Is there some place to see that?
Oh, yes, for the record, this is Jessica. Yes, there is it's on the CTA website, is there on the Red Line Extension
Okay.
Project website.
Okay, thank you.
Are there other questions or comments from members of the commission? Commissioner Cox?
Thank you. I think it might be appropriate to send a link to all of the commissioners because it's a rather robust study that shows all of the opportunities for housing rehab of vacant buildings, as well as a strategy for infill housing. So they have growth numbers, projections of what's possible. And I just think that the commission would enjoy seeing that work. And Jasmine Gunn led that work, and it's quite exceptional. I'll sneak in my question, just a clarification. The park replacement land, so the expectation is that CTA will acquire this land, and then is it received by the park district? And is there compensation for executing the design and construction of the additional parkland that goes along with the transit TIF? So basically, I'm asking, who will receive the ownership of the park replacement land and who pays to have the improvements made?
For the record, this is Sonali Tandon, Chicago Transit Authority. So CTA will be transferring the replacement parkland to Park District. We are currently in the process of negotiations and executing an intergovernmental agreement with them as well. And we will be doing some basic sodding and leveling of land, and then transferring it to Park District. The Fernwood Parkway is also currently passive park space. So if there are further or different visions for the transfer parkland, then Park District will make those improvements.
So there is not, like for the Major Taylor Trail, apart from just sodding and making it accessible, there's no resources identified to do additional, beyond just passive.
Not at this time.
Okay. Thank you.
Are there other questions or comments from members of the commission? Secretary Chan McKibben.
My question is about the community engagement process. Maybe it's already detailed in the document about the housing the privately owned housing that may be purchased later, even though it's not part of today's vote. And then also what kind of engagement process has been in place or will be in place for the replacement park land. Thanks.
For record, this is Sonali Tandon, Chicago Transit Authority. So we have been communicating with the impacted property owners since 2016. We have been mailing them letters and doing door-to-door outreach, having focused community meetings on displacement, and our acquisitions and relocation team has been giving them all the information about the process so that they are aware of the benefits that they would get through the Uniform Relocation Act, which we are required to follow. So it has been a very robust community outreach process related to acquisitions and relocation. So they are entitled to both acquisition benefits as well as relocation benefits. I'm sorry, was there another question? Did that answer?
Yeah, the second question was about the replacement parkland. Similar question. What is the public engagement process and how do community residents get involved?
So again, this is Sonali Tandon, Chicago Transit Authority. So since the impacts to Fernwood Parkway is a Section 4F impact, which is covered as part of the environmental impact statement process, it has been, those impacts and proposed mitigations have been part of all our outreach process for the environmental impact statement. We have had a number of meetings over the years where we presented that information. The replacement park parcels have evolved over the years. More recently, when we published the supplemental environmental assessment and conducted a hearing on it in February of 2022, we presented that information during those meetings and hearing. So overall, over the years, the response has been positive. People are excited about new parks. As I mentioned before, the Fernwood Parkway is a passive park space, and the new replacement parks will provide additional opportunities. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Thomas.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It was a great presentation, very thorough. We talked about the plan. You're going to send us a link to the comprehensive plan. Does the plan also address local business opportunities, especially around the new stations? Yeah, for the record, this is Jasmine Gunn with DPD. Yes, the plan does include the opportunities for small business owners. And we have a lengthy matrix at the end about partnership opportunities and who we should bring to the table to accomplish the different visions that we set forth. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Thomas. I have a follow-up question to the question that Secretary Chan McKibben asked, and this is directed to the CTA. Of the 95 privately owned parcels, how many, and this is, you can give an approximate, we don't need the exact number, how many have you been kind of in active engagement with regarding the acquisition of their property versus there's been no reaction or engagement with the owners?
For record, this is Sonali Tandon, Chicago Transit Authority. So we have been contacting property owners since last year. We have provided them letter of intent after receiving the record of decision on the environmental impact statement. Appraisals have been conducted on all properties, and when we conduct appraisals, we reach out to the property owners and invite them during the appraisal process. So the acquisition process is ongoing. We have acquired some of the properties, and some of the other properties are in different stages of acquisition.
So can you guesstimate as to, of the 95 privately owned parcels that you're engaged with, can you give an estimate as to kind of how many have been, or the percentage, however you would like to answer the question? I'm just trying to get a sense of how much active engagement there has been with the property owner on these 95 parcels.
Once again, this is Sonali Tandon, Chicago Transit Authority. So there has been active engagement with all properties and property owners. I think your question is more about like how many we have already acquired.
I think you did say that there were some parcels that had been acquired.
Yeah, there have been some parcels that have been acquired. If you're looking for precise numbers, then we'll have to get back to you with that information. But we are actively coordinating on all the properties and hope to acquire them by the end of next year before we start construction.
Right, thank you. Commissioner Thomas.
And so I think the clarification is, I think I heard her say that all 99 property owners have been engaged with CTA. Is that correct?
That is correct. And I also have Joe Harmoning here, Director of Real Estate, CTA Real Estate. And I don't know if Joe has additional information here to add.
Hello? Oh, yes. Okay, so I can just...
No, you need to introduce yourself, sir.
Yes, my name is Joe Harmoning. I am the Director of Real Estate for CTA. And I can confirm that we've contacted all the private property owners. And we've had closings of about, I believe we're right now at 38 closings to get a sense for where we are in the process.
Yes, Commissioner Cox.
If I could just add, because I think obviously we all have this vision of people who are, contacted and contacted and contacted, and there's no response. And then all of a sudden, they wake up to the fact that their property is in the mix, and there's a big story in the paper about how CTA is taking their land and they didn't know. So I think we can all envision that scenario, and I think we want to make sure that everything has been done, that will never happen here, because not only are you in contact with them, they have responded to your contact.
Generally, that is
You
true.
need to, I'm sorry, every time you
Sorry.
speak, you have to introduce yourself. Thank you.
Joe Harmoning with the CTA. Generally, Commissioner Cox, that is the case, that we would be not only establish contact with the property owners, but that they have acknowledged that and we have entered into a negotiation or discussions. That is not always the case. In some cases, owners are, if I can just finish. So in some cases, the owners are not responsive to the letter of intent or the offer letter, whatever kind of contact that we would have made. And so we are forced to try and find other means to reach out, whether it's via the newspaper or through counsel, outside counsel.
Okay, so have you found yourself yet in one of those situations where you've had to use these alternative methods to reach for people?
That has occurred.
Okay, thank you.
Great. Thank you, Commissioner Cox. Are there other questions or comments from members of the commission? Yes, no, don't be sorry. Commissioner Gomez, please.
Thank you. As more people have been bringing it up, and the reason my original question about the occupied and those that are housing is my concern is CTA is negotiating directly with property owners. Many, I know if one of them were my parents or maybe a family member, they may not know how to react to that, or are we offering any type of support or service that they would have to be able to talk about these things with?
This is Sonali Tandon, Chicago Transit Authority. Yeah, our acquisition and relocation team has been, and some of the lead for the acquisition and relocation team has been communicating with the property owners since 2016. They have been hand-holding the property owners with a lot of information and the benefits that they are entitled to. We are very much aware that it can be a very stressful process, and that has been on the forefront of our outreach approach to make it less stressful, to give people the information that they need. We have a community office, we have an office within the community at 111th Street. Owners have information of our team, so they can reach out to them if they get anxious or if they have questions.
Yeah.
I
think that's, as long as it'd be great. I know there's organizations that offer resources. And so if we're able to connect them with people that can offer legal counsel or just house on the subject. Again, if someone came knocking on my door, or family members, you don't know where to go to right away. So I think it's just be helpful to have that support, that we're doing that. CTA is doing that.
Thank you, Commissioner Gomez. Are there other questions or comments from members of the commission? If there are no further questions or comments from members of the commission, I would now like to invite members of the public who are in attendance and interested to speak on this item. Each speaker will be limited to 3 minutes. I have 2 speakers that have signed in. Ms. Jessica Jackson, would you care to come to the mic? Mr. Blakemore is a gentleman, so he's going to let you speak first.
Hello.
Can you
Thank
turn on her mic, please? It's on. And Ms. Jackson, if you've not spoken to this party before, to this body before the timers there on the wall. And thank you for your comments.
Okay. My name is Jessica Jackson, and I'm here and I'm listening to this. My concern is that the people who actually live in Roseland in these areas, that their houses, their property is not taken from them in order for this red line to develop. It's too much of that going on in the city of Chicago, especially on the south side, where the properties are being taken. People are being bullied. No, it's not a nice process of interacting with the community, interacting with the homeowners. That's not what's happening. What's happening is bogarting, it's bullying, it's stealing. We're seeing here where a stenographer is here taking notes for this meeting, but there's no stenographers in the probate division where they're straight stealing air property from people in the city. It's too much of that going on. You got the people on the south side in South Shore that's talking about how we're being bogarted by immigration, getting pushed out our communities. That's what's happening. We got letters from the aldermen. Where are they? Where are these Black aldermen that need to be representing these Black people? Don't send no letter. Show your Black face. Like you came and voted for them immigrants. You threw your hand up, you didn't send a letter. That's why they need to be voted out of office. You can't treat your own no better than this. You need to have to get out of office. You don't develop the city in Black areas, but the Black people who live there been paying taxes there, property taxes there. They don't get to enjoy it because you're gonna move them out like you did with the Obama Center. You're gonna flame Obama in front of us to make us fall for it. But all the while, you moving the people out that live over there. And then when the Democratic National Convention comes, you're gonna flaunt Obama to cut a ribbon and wave to the people as they get pushed out their own communities. That's what Willie Wilson was talking about in that letter that he published the other day in the Chicago Tribune, talking about why Black officials need to be forced out of office because you're sitting here letting Black Chicagoans get treated like this. Nobody's saying that railroads shouldn't be developed, but make sure those jobs come to the people who live in our community, not a bunch of immigrants working in our communities. That needs to stop. It needs to stop. I don't know if I can finish with my 3 minutes or what. I got 2 seconds. Y'all need to get it together. Get it together for the Black people in this town. For the Black people.
Thank you, Ms. Jackson, for your remarks. We appreciate your participation. We really do. Mr. Blakemore? Can we have Mr. Blakemore's mic on, please?
They're my enemies up here. They'll cut the mic off.
Okay, Mr. Blakemore, your mic is on now,
Okay,
sir.
thank you. And the way you are chairing this committee, I think it's wonderful. You gave the information prior to letting the people speak, but we could be well informed on what's going on. Use these committees, but you just come, okay, we got 3 or 4 people to speak, and some people, you went over the agenda and the item, and you are educating the people. So I challenge you. This is you one of the new chairman to bring the people out, to inform and engage the people in your community about what's going on. Intimate domain where government take what they want from the people. Now I have seen certain places when it comes to white people. They go around certain when they don't want to sell. They say, well, we gonna.
Mr. Blakemore, could you speak in the mic, please?
I've seen it on the Gold Coast. So if some of these people refuse to sell, you get your architect and your engineers, and you go around them. You don't first bully them and say you got to move. Taking private property for public use. And it's too much, it's too messy. CTA own that and gonna transfer it to the park district. And the park district gonna transfer for this to the land bank in the county. That's what's wrong here. This little all Democratic machine here. All of you are in this together. Now, if I ask each one of you all, what party do you belong to? I'm a Democrat. I'm a Democrat. That's what engineers, over 1.5 million Black have left the city of Chicago. 1.5 million slowly on the daily Democrat. Emmanuel, the Lady Lightfoot, and now Brandon Johnson. But they all Black faces in high places. But why are Black leaving the city? And why are Asian illegals coming in? Whites, Latinos are coming in. And why are Blacks going out? So what the young lady is saying, it seems like they can even use this instead of empowering Black people with this extension of the red line. They could be engineering us out too, and we're suspect. And so thank you, Chairman, for being so kind to me and gracious to me when I was having like a little tantrum when Mr. Cox was here. And if we must be flexible, and you serve the public.
Thank you,
And
Mr.
thank you
Blakemore.
very much.
Thank you.
And then we will be able to have to speak on this other item that we have. the
Yes, Mr.
second item.
Blakemore, we look forward to hearing from you
Okay.
on that item as well. Thank you. Are there any additional members of the public? All right, thank you, Mr. Blakemore. Keeps me straight. If there are no further questions or comments in the resolution before us, the Department of Planning and Development is seeking authority to advertise its intention to enter into a negotiated sale with the Chicago Transit Authority for the disposition of 36 parcels in the 105th Vincennes, 107th Halsted, 119th Halsted, Lake Calumet, and Roseland, Michigan tax increment financing redevelopment project areas, to request alternative proposals and to approve the sale of these properties to the Chicago Transit Authority if no responsive alternative proposals are received. Are there any objections or abstentions by members of the commission to this item? Seeing that there are no objections, I move passage of this item by the same roll call vote previously used to establish quorum. The motion is approved. Yes, I'm sorry. Did you abstain? Or
No,
object?
I want to make sure that our secretary is part of that quorum.
Yes, she is.
Thank you.
Yes.
I also would like to have a follow-up with CTA to really dig a little deeper on the portfolio of properties that you've been trying to acquire, and they're coming different ways. I feel a certain sense of responsibility because when something goes sideways, I think the subject of people's concern will be the city, not CTA. It could be just as easily DPD because we've had a leadership role. And if I'm going to take some of the responsibility, I think I want to make sure that everything that we know we should be doing is working. So it sounds like you have you're on top of it, but yet those concerns linger in the general public, and we want to make sure that we've done everything possible. So I'd like to request a follow-up to the conversation that was had today. The other thing, and it's that DPD did, and we did it very strategically, was to try to anticipate the kind of development that the red line extension will engender, and to be able to actually show people what the future will look like years before the building is constructed. And we have the first results, I think, Jasmine spoke to that are going to be unveiled beginning of September, end of August. And I think people will start to see that the type of, medium density development that you expect around transit stations, the type of amenities that you expect to see, like grocery stores and other, are in the mix. And they actually are quite beautiful. Some of the best looking development we've seen in the city is coming along with this red line. And so we purposefully tried to front load it to make sure people understood what the future looks like. And so this body, hopefully maybe we'll be able to make a special presentation once that's all done, but there'll be multiple open houses planned in the community to help people visualize what the future is like. I'm very excited by it. And I think we've done our very best to make sure that it is for the very people who live in Roseland, and it won't be a force for gentrification or displacement. So I'm looking forward to sharing that with the group, and it's coming within a matter of, weeks.
That's great. Thank you so much, Commissioner Cox. I know the commission, members of the commission would be really happy
Mhm.
to continue to be kept informed on the progress, particularly the very sensitive issue of the acquisition of
Right.
privately owned parcels that are being impacted by not just this development,
Mhm.
but, activities throughout the city, development throughout the city. We want to make sure that we're doing our part to make sure that all of us as citizens are feel that the city is the city and all of its sister agencies and organizations are being receptive and responsive to our needs and requirements. And so, we look forward to hearing from you about your engagement with the CTA
Right.
on that specific topic as it relates to this red line extension, but also just in general, and keeping the commission, the CDC informed on the project in general would be very helpful. And so we'll figure out a way to work that into our public agenda so that members of the public can be informed as well. Commissioner Davis?
Who is responsible for kind of getting the word out? I won't say publicity, but the marketing, the getting in front of it. You said, front loading, getting in front of it in terms of what this is not versus what, people may think. And so who is responsible for that part of it, the rollout, like what we will see come in commercials or TV or whatever, not that we have a lot of money for that, but who does that and who's going to be doing that?
Is that the question for the TSD plan
Well, no,
development?
no, it's
or
a
is that
question,
for red
just
line
in general.
extension?
So just the kinds of things that we heard today, that the rest of the public may be thinking and won't have the ability to answer these questions. And when you say get in front of it, I'm not saying that it's your responsibility. I don't know whose responsibility it is. That's my question. To make sure that we get the word out, that the word gets out, that it's coming, this is what it's going to look like, this is how beautiful it's going to be, it's a joint collaboration, this is how you can be a part of it, this is when the meetings are happening. I can go on and on about what people probably should know, but who tells them that?
So this is, we want to make sure that we stay on track with
Understood.
respect to our agenda. But I think what you're hearing is that members of this commission and other commissions in the city have lots of ideas and suggestions about not only this project, but other matters that come before this commission. And Commissioner Davis, if there is not, as part of the intergovernmental agencies that are working on this, if there's not a plan currently in place to let the public know what is coming, that there should be. And that is, thank you, Commissioner Davis, for that suggestion. And I'm sure that all of the agencies and departments that are working on this will make sure that your, wonderful suggestion is in fact executed.
And I do, this is Jasmine Gunn with the Department of Planning and Development. I do want to mention for the developments that we're mentioning along Michigan Avenue, we're actually planning on sending out a few thousand mailers to the people in the surrounding area, so they'll get the door-to-door outreach. And we're working with our communications team to really get the word out to the area.
Right.
I know CTA is also doing a lot of outreach as well.
And I think that what you're hearing from this commission is that that needs to be a coordinated effort. Because if it's coordinated, it will be more impactful. That's our recommendation to all of the departments and agencies
I'll
involved.
just add to that, that CTA has definitely been doing extensive coordination with all the sister agencies over the number of years as part of the environmental process, and when that ended as part of the project development. So, and also like extensive outreach. We have a project advisory council which includes community members, and we keep them updated on the project. We have a variety of means, newsletters, website, a number of ways to reach to the public and keep them apprised of the information. But I do take the point about keeping everyone, all the agencies coordinated as well.
The last thing that we'll say on this is that local focus is the bare minimum that's required. I think what you're hearing also from this commission is a suggestion that it be more broad-based, and so that the general public understands the benefits of this particular activity by the CTA and how it will benefit the city.
Thank you for that.
All right.
recommendation.
Great, thank you. Okay. Commissioners, for our next and final item of new business, the Department of Planning and Development is seeking authority to advertise its intention to enter into a negotiated sale with Academic Adventure Academy for the disposition of the property located at 7524 South Emerald Avenue in the 79th Vincennes Tax Increment Financing Redevelopment Project area, to request alternative proposals and to approve the sale of the property to Academic Adventure Academy if no responsive alternative proposals are received. James Michaels will provide a brief description of this on behalf of the Department of Planning and Development. Welcome, James.
Good afternoon.
Take your time. Good. Get settled.
Okay. Good afternoon, Chairman and members of the committee. For the record, my name is James Michael from the Department of Planning and Development.
Could you speak more into the mic, please?
Sure.
Or you can move it closer to you.
Oh.
That's easier.
There we go. This item is a fair market sale for an unimproved city-owned parcel located at 7524 West Emerald Avenue to Academic Adventure Academy. The property is zoned RS3 in the Inglewood community area. The parcel will be used as an outdoor play lot for the daycare at 7506 West Emerald. Per zoning, the applicant has agreed to all zoning requirements regarding front setback and play lot equipment. The appraised market value is $4,250 and the sale price is $4,250. The vacant lot dimensions is 40 by 144 or 5,758 square feet approximately. In addition, the department has obtained AS clearance on the parcel, and we have support from 17th Ward Alderman David Moore and the adjacent neighbor. That concludes my presentation. So this is basically what it will look like after the parcel is improved. And this is what it looks like right now. We're looking to, our recommendation is looking to go ahead for advertisement and then go on to the Chicago Plan Commission and City Council introduction. Thank you. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you, James. And just to confirm, this is a market rate sale?
This is a market rate sale, correct?
Right, thank you. I don't see Alderman David Moore here, but as James mentioned, he is in support of this project.
We have
Is that correct?
correct. We have a support letter, and we did discuss it, that the meeting was today, and then Chicago Plan Commission meeting upcoming.
Great, thank you.
Mhm.
No written statements from the public were submitted on this matter. We can now move to questions. Commissioners James Michaels from the Department of Planning and Development is available to help answer your questions. Commissioners, do you have any questions or comments? Commissioner Curtis.
Yes, thank you. I'm just curious, I see that it's part of the tax increment area. Is there TIF funding involved in this at all?
For the record, my name is James Michaels from Department of Planning and Development. There is no TIF funding involved in this
Thank you.
transaction.
And just as clarification, this commission is required to approve the sale of property within a TIF district, even if it's at market rate or at a appraised value. It has to come to this commission. And that's why this matter is being considered by this commission today. Commissioner Davis.
Am I correct that there's a home daycare that I guess is adjacent to that? Is that right?
The home daycare is actually, so the home daycare would be item B here. It's a couple doors down from this property.
Okay, quick question. Who is responsible for maintaining the lot?
The daycare will be responsible for maintaining the lot. She states that she will be putting water supply into the lot. She will be maintaining the lot.
And who makes sure that that's the case? The reason why I ask is because my mother lives next door to one of these so-called play lots that has been put up, and it has been a disaster.
Mhm.
The people who were supposed to take care of it have not, and there's no way to enforce them taking care of it. And it was worse than the vacant lot that was there. And so, because then people sell drugs there, they hang out there, they do all kind of things there. So I guess my concern is just that we're not creating a nuisance in some respect.
The alderman, we had presented this scenario to the alderman, and the alderman was support for this academy, Venture Academy.
So we don't know, who is going to be responsible for making sure that there's safety and all that kind of thing. I just want to make sure that when we're doing something like this, that we know that there's potential problems and that the folks who say that they're going to take care of it are kind of made to do so. Is there something in place to make sure that happens?
I mean, there's zoning in place that she'll have to maintain the lot, and if the lot becomes unmaintainable, there's zoning requirements for that.
Okay.
Yeah, yes, Commissioner Cox.
I have a feeling I've asked this question at the review of this parcel. Have the two adjacent property owners been notified of the new use? And have I don't know if they consent, but have they been supportive of having the playground next door to them?
Sure. The one neighbor to the right is supportive, and she provided a letter of support. The neighbor to the left, it's in a trust, and she could not get a hold of who owned it in the trust. She tried for a month or 2 months. The owner, Brittany King of the daycare, she tried for a couple of months to get a hold of him, and we had explained this to the alderman too. So
Trust, does that mean they're renting it to someone else, or
right now
are
it's
they living
vacant.
in it? It's
Right now it's vacant in a trust, and they're trying to locate the trust owner, correct?
Okay.
The property to the left.
The property to the left, right, exactly. Mhm.
I mean, I think the commissioner's point is obviously well taken. Generally, the daycare has the lot adjacent to their facility, so they have absolute responsibility. When it's dislocated from their place, the question of accountability and maintenance could become, nuisance. I would only say that the neighbors, at least the one neighbor that's occupied, or the people across the street or on the block, have a mechanism to voice their concern, whether to the daycare center directly or to their local alderperson. So there should be some oversight, but it's not ideal. And you have a lived experience example of where it didn't work. I think we just have to kind of hope for the best and make sure that it is in the sale agreement, specific language that represents this issue, so that they know. And we have the ability to do that.
Right, we can add things to the deed to restrict the deed for it.
Commissioner Thomas?
I'm just gonna say this because when someone owns a piece of property, it's already under ordinance that they have to keep the property up and they get ticketed. They get ticketed enough where the municipality will take the property if they're not keeping it up. That is the way it's supposed to be. And I would suggest that it not run with the land because it's already a part of the responsibility of the owner. I'm just saying that I think this is a good idea. If there's anything running with the land, it should be attached to the PIN letter B, so that when it's sold, if B is ever sold, A is not just sitting out there alone. That's when the issue will happen.
Daycare.
Here, or unless the sale is to the daycare LLC or whatever it is, you're selling the property to that person. That person will own it. But if it's two separate pins, if she sells B and not A, then A is just sitting there as an absentee owner, right? And that's when your issues happen.
Joining of the two pins on the one property ownership, is that an alternative we have?
I don't think joining the pins, but I think it's an excellent idea you have, and I think it's something we could write in the deed. We'll run it past the applicant and we all run it past the department. I think there's something in the deed we could put to restrict that if she does discontinue the use as a daycare or something, that the city would have first refusal to purchase the property back. I think there's something we could put in deed if we discuss it as we discuss it.
Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Thomas. Are there other questions or comments from members of the commission? If there are no further questions or comments from members of the commission, and I'm sure the department appreciates the discussion that we just had, and Commissioner Davis, thank you for raising the concern. I would now like to invite members of the public who are in attendance and interested to speak on this item. Each speaker will be limited to 3 minutes. I have a total of 3 speakers, I believe, that have signed up to speak on this item. Zoe Lee. Thank you so much for coming and spending time with us this afternoon. We're interested in hearing from you. Just as a point of, I guess, clarification, if you've not been to this body before, each speaker has 3 minutes to speak and the timer is there on the wall.
Okay.
You may begin. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Zoe Lee. I have been protesting for the last 8 weeks in front of City Hall for my mother, eminent domain, 79th and Halsted. My mother and my godfather had a property in 2016. Ron Manuel had signed off on Delta Demolition to knock it down, and she has not been compensated yet. We are in court. You know, my mother had a stroke 2023, the beginning of 2023, 3 days before my birthday. And I prayed and I made sure like I was able to get the money to get a civil rights lawyer because, it's violation of her Fifth Amendment, which is not being compensated. And a lot of us don't know, about the Constitution and our laws and our rights. And I'm outside to make awareness because this happens in our communities, and it's now affecting eminent domain. It's affecting all nationalities. I spoke to a few white people. They talk about farms. It's a big thing, and no one's talking about it. And it continues to happen in our communities, and we don't have the resources, the knowledge. We don't know about the laws. We don't know that the Constitution is for us and it protects us. And they're going to continue to do this if no one doesn't speak up about it. I'm new to this. I used to manage a man by the name of Dick Gregory, and 58 years ago, he did the same thing, marched from here to Daley's house. And that's all I know. But I do know social media is big, and it's about time for it to get out. And I have faith that where my mother was born and raised, Chicago, that they're going to do the right thing and pay her so we can continue to, have revenue over there. My mother had, that was a big lot, Sandpiper Lounge, and I love art. That could have been an art gallery. I could have, hired young kids that could have been out here. So I just want to make you guys aware that I'm continue to be outside. And if it's just one person, I don't care. You understand? It's just about just letting you know that you guys cannot, not saying you guys, but the city of Chicago cannot continue to do this, especially to us. Gentrification was one of the worst things that has happened to us, and it gets worse and worse every year if we do not do anything about it. And we don't have any leadership in the city of Chicago that are taking a stand. So that's it. Thank y'all. And that's peace.
Peace to you as well. Thank you, Zoe, for joining us this afternoon, and we appreciate your comments. Thank you. Ms. Jessica Jackson. Thanks again for joining us this afternoon.
Thank you again. And I want to coattail off of what the lady before me said. This thing about properties being taken by the government is a real thing. Eminent domain being used because the city say they want it, because the government says they want it. In our private neighborhoods, we're being bogarted out of our properties by things like probate proceedings, the public administration office, this immigration. They are taking our properties. They're taking our communities. And I don't know what part of that our Black leadership in this city wants us to be understanding too. They want us to understand a humanitarian crisis that's going on with immigrants while our neighborhoods are being bombarded, while we're being overtaken by the people that we voted into office. What part of this are you all want us to see as a humanitarian crisis? But you all don't see that us getting pushed out our neighborhoods. You don't see that as a humanitarian crisis? You don't see that people who have owned property through generations, like her parents, like my mother, my grandmother, my father, my uncles, who owned property that's paid for, and then the city with the probate division, eminent domain, can come up with a plan to move you out your property. I don't understand why the Black leaders in this city don't see that as a humanitarian crisis for us. I just don't get it. I don't get it outside of real talk. It's the slave mentality that we're suffering from. It's the residue of slavery, Jim Crow. It's the only explanation for it. How it is that people older than me. I'm 60 years old. My mother and father drank from those Jim Crow water fountains. People in here, your parents drank from those water fountains. They sat on the back of those buses. Real talk, we don't know what the side of others was on. We don't know if they was holding water hoses or dogs or not, but we know that our parents sat on the back of them buses. And for us to sit here and allow Chicago to be taken from us is a disgrace. How do you sleep at night, knowing that you're pushing people out of their paid for properties while you're taking care of immigrants who haven't paid a dime to this country? How do you sleep at night?
Thank you so much, Ms. Jackson, for joining us this afternoon and for your comments. We heard you. Mr. Blakemore.
Chairman, you know, the games that people play, playing a game. This is human life. That land, no land in the city of Chicago is worthless like this, $4,000. I can't believe it. When they had over in Irving Ward and Monique Scott Ward, this lady in planning and development, you weren't there, Mr. Cox, she was there. And she said, none of these lots are dollar lots. Over in that ghetto, she said, none of these lots are dollar lots. 50,000 or more. It's a game that's being played. And you know, Black leadership is silent. They are allowing this game to be played. You know, they put certain Black people in places. Do you want to use the word sell out, house, or whatever? Going back to that article. With Willie Wilson, Black here, Black faces there, Black everywhere in this city, in this state. But they at the bottom of the socioeconomic, in a caste system, at the bottom. Do you have shame? An old 81-year-old man, nappy hair, big nose, big lip, and a black booty hole is advocating for Black people. And you all are supposed to be elected officials. I'm not blaming it on you here. Where's David Moore? Where are the people? And that lot is not directed next to that little daycare. And after so many years, she can sell that lot for market value. You know, Black people, do they call us sellouts? Something is wrong with us. Something is wrong. Something happened to us, Miss Thomas, Miss Jessica, on the plantation. Something real bad happened to us. What did the white master make? Start with an end. We must purge ourselves of this endism and become strong Black men and women. We have no ally. Our ally is us. We got to focus on us, and may God bless all my Black brothers and sisters and so-called Black leaders. I love you. I respect you, but something happened to all of us.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Blakemore. It's good to see you. Thank you. If there are no further questions or comments, the resolution before us, the Department of Planning and Development is seeking authority to advertise its intention to enter into a negotiated sale with Academic Adventure Academy for the disposition of the property located at 7524 South Emerald Avenue in the 79th Vincennes Tax Increment Financing Redevelopment Project Area to request alternative proposals and to approve the sale of the property to Academic Adventure Academy if no responsive alternative proposals are received. Are there any abstentions or objections by members of the commission?
Chair. Whereas, was it agreed that the contingency that was discussed would be a part of that transaction in terms of assigning it in some way to the other property?
Yes, I believe that the department indicated that they would address that matter with the applicant, with the purchaser.
Thank
And
you.
also the law department needs to be involved as well to make sure that the request is something that we can legally do, given city regulations
Thank
and
you.
requirements. All right, thank you, Commissioner Davis, for that. Are there any more comments, questions, objections, or abstentions? I move passage of this item by the same roll call vote previously used to establish quorum, and we acknowledge Commissioner Davis's abstention. Commissioners, that was our last item on today's agenda. If there are no further questions or comments, I move to adjourn the August meeting of the Community Development Commission by the same roll call vote previously used to establish quorum. Hearing no objections to the adjournment, we are adjourned. Thank you so much.